Now, after weeks of thwarting the public about the state of Britain's finances, Rachel Reeves will make her first Labour conference speech as Chancellor later today.
It comes as ministers seek to move on from criticism about political donations and winter fuel payments. Well, ahead of that big speech, Rachel Reeves joins us now live on Breakfast from the party conference in Liverpool. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We'll talk about the public finances in a moment. Can we just talk about your personal finances, because more headlines this morning about donations to senior members of the Labour Party. You've acknowledged that you accepted more than £7,000 that went towards new clothes. Do you now accept that that was a mistake?
I can understand how some people think that it's odd. I get that. I had an old friend who wanted to support me during the election campaign, and what she really wanted to do was to help me make sure I was smart for big events and on the campaign trail. I appreciated that support. It made a big difference to me. It was never something that I planned to continue in government, but it did help me during the election campaign.
But the fact that you've said you won't take any more for clothes suggests that you do admit it was a mistake.
I think especially now that we are in government and having to make decisions, including some difficult decisions on the public finances, it's right that that doesn't continue. It was never something I planned to continue if I became a government minister. But politics does rely on donations to run campaigns, to get leaflets through doors, billboards, the campaigns online. And we are grateful for the donations that we receive. But the support that I got, I don't plan to continue that now that I'm Chancellor of the Exchequer.
The money that was given to you for clothes was described in the log in Parliament as being money to support the Shadow Chancellor's office, when you were Shadow Chancellor at the time. There was another £98,500 donated to support the Shadow Chancellor's office as well during that year. What was that money used for?
A whole range of things, primarily research in my office, research on the economy, helping with policy development and speech writing, a whole range of things. It's rightly the case that we don't ask taxpayers to fund the bulk of the campaigning work and the research work that politicians do, but that does require then on donations, from small donations from party members and supporters, from larger contributions from people who have been very successful in life and want to give something back. We appreciate that support. It's part of the reason why we are in government today, because we were able to do that research work and we were able to do that campaigning.
And so there was £98,000 on research, no other clothing or other personal effects?
No, I've been very clear. The money that I received to help me for big events and for the campaign trail, and all my donations have been declared in the proper way.
Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister, told Laura Kuenssberg on the BBC yesterday that, as you just have, that all MPs accept gifts from time to time. I guess the reason this is difficult for you is that a lot of people voted for Labour very recently because they didn't want you to be like all politicians and all parties. They wanted a change. They voted for change. That was your big headline. To say that everyone's always done that won't really be much consolation to those people who gave you a vote.
Well, let me give you an example of the change that we are delivering. Today in my conference speech, I will set out how we are appointing a COVID corruption commissioner, because during the pandemic, some people lined their pockets with taxpayers' money, and the government created a VIP lane of their friends, the previous government, of their friends and donors who got contracts. There wasn't transparency. We didn't know why some people were on the VIP lane and some weren't. And what I've learnt since becoming Chancellor was that there were £674 million worth of contracts under dispute that the previous government said, let's not even try to get the money back. Well, I've stopped that. We want our money back. That money belongs in our public services, and I will do everything within my power to recoup that money, to make sure that taxpayers are not ripped off, and that any money that is due back for PPE that was not delivered or was not delivered to the right standard, that we can get our money back from that. That's just one example of how we are cracking down on the cronyism and the waste under the previous government, because that money belongs in our public services, and that is part of the difference that I want to make as Chancellor of the Exchequer.
The Daily Mail is reporting this morning that Angela Rayner has employed a personal photographer as a member of the government, earning £70,000 of public money. Is that not waste?
Well, we have committed to reducing the size of the government communications budget, but all government departments have media officers and photographers, not for individual politicians, but to support the policy work, the campaigning work, the initiatives of government departments to help government departments do their jobs. This is not to support Angela Rayner as a Labour Party politician. This is to support the Ministry for Housing, Communities and Local Government.
OK, but the Mail is saying this morning that never before has a Deputy Prime Minister in this country had a personal photographer. And apparently the title of this individual, and correct us if we're wrong, is Chief Photographer to the Deputy Prime Minister and Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, Angela Rayner. That sounds like a personal photographer.
Well, for example, they certainly wouldn't be able to be at an event like Labour Party conference because this is a political event, not a government event. And it is important that we keep the politics and the day-to-day work of governing our country separately. And certainly taxpayers should not be funding anything that is party political, only to fund work that is about promoting and supporting the work of this government, this democratically elected government, to do the task ahead. And including in Angela's department, building the 1.5 million homes that our country desperately needs, as well as Angela's work about making sure that work pays, banning exploitative zero-hour contracts, banning fire and rehire, turning the minimum wage into a real living wage. That is the work that this government is undertaking to ensure that working people are better off, to ensure that we're building the homes that families need, to help more people get on the housing ladder, as well as the work that I'm doing in my department to bring growth back to the economy, because I know if we can bring stability back to our economy, if we can make the reforms that are necessary, then the prize on offer is immense, with the growth and the prosperity and the wealth that we can bring to communities. Good jobs paying decent wages, vibrant high streets and public services, particularly our National Health Service, that are properly funded through tax receipts. That's the difference that we can make if we can undo the damage. It's 2 years now since Liz Truss's mini budget, which did such damage to our economy. It sent mortgage rates spiralling, it put pensions in peril, and it undermined our reputation on the world stage. We are reversing the decline that the Conservatives oversaw and bringing investment back to our country. That's what I'll be setting out in my conference speech today and in my budget, my first budget, Labour's first budget for more than 14 years in October.
You will know, though, as you arrived in Liverpool, you'll have seen billboards up there that have been paid for by the unions, that there are a lot of people there, part of the Labour movement, who are really unhappy with, for example, your plan to remove the winter fuel payment for millions of pensioners. One of your own MPs, York MP, Rachel Maskell, put on Twitter last night, "I have been sickened by revelations of donations. It grates," she says, "against the values of the Labour Party, which was created to fight for the needs of others, not for self." At the same time, pensioners are having their winter fuel payments taken. They're risking going cold. I trust this conference will vote to change that. Are you prepared to reconsider, change in any way, the policy on winter fuel payments?
When I became Chancellor of the Exchequer, I inherited a black hole in the public finances of £22 billion. That's £22 billion that the previous government had committed to spending, even though the money wasn't there.
And you've added to that, haven't you, with increased payments within the public sector?
Well, if you're talking about giving public sector workers, our nurses, our teachers, our armed forces and police a pay rise, yes, we have given them a pay rise because we accepted the independent recommendations of the pay review bodies. Those are pay review bodies that the previous government set up. They gave the mandate for those pay review bodies, and we've accepted those independent recommendations. That was the right thing to do, to bring an end to the industrial disputes, particularly in our NHS, which was costing £1.8 billion the previous year because of cancelled operations and procedures. So it was right to do that and also to fix the recruitment and retention issues that we face in our schools and in our hospitals. So I'd make no apologies for doing that, but it has required difficult decisions. We've had to look at rephasing the hospital building programme because the previous government did not commit the money for that. We've had to cancel road and rail projects because the previous government did not commit the money money for that. We've had to find efficiencies in the public sector to be able to afford those pay increases. A number of difficult decisions, including on winter fuel payments, restricting that so only the poorest pensioners, those on pension credit, can continue to get it. We felt that that was the right decision in the circumstances that we faced. It wasn't a decision that I wanted to make, it wasn't a decision I expected to make, but with a £22 billion black hole in the public finances, taking no action was not an option. We saw what happened just 2 years ago when a government lost control of the public finances. It sent mortgages spiralling and put pensions in peril. I will never play fast and loose with the public finances. I said during the election campaign that people could trust me with their money, and I will repay that trust. It does require difficult decisions, but that is the fault of the Conservatives, who left an awful legacy and a £22 billion hole in the public finances.
But it is your choice to get rid of the winter fuel payments for millions of pensioners. To our viewers this morning who are set to lose that payment, let's just be absolutely clear. Is there any chance that you'll change your mind on it at all?
Look, my focus is making sure that everybody that's entitled to pension credit is getting it. Under the previous government, only around 2/3 of people entitled were getting that support. We've launched a campaign to ensure that everybody that's entitled to it knows about that entitlement and is getting that support. I want to make sure that everybody who's entitled to winter fuel payment and hundreds of pounds in pension credit payments gets that support. And I would encourage anyone listening to this programme who might be in that position that should be getting pension credit that isn't, or if you've got a mum or a dad or a grandparent that should be getting pension credit and isn't, please do look into that, because it is worth hundreds of pounds, in some cases more than £1,000 to the poorest pensioners, and I want to make sure that everybody that's entitled to that support is getting it.
You say that you're going to give a view of optimism today in your speech. You're going to set out the way forward and say what Britain can lead to economically. Is that an acknowledgement that over the last few weeks you've been so full of doom and gloom about the economy that you've gone too far? You're now having to rein things back a bit?
Well, when I became Chancellor of the Exchequer and I learnt about the true extent of the public finances and that £22 billion gap this year and every subsequent year, I had a choice. I could either continue what the Conservatives did and cover that up, or I could be open and honest and transparent and set out a plan to fix the problems in the public finances. I decided to take that course of being open and honest. Now, I think that's the right thing, because I think that it's important to level with people about what governments have to do to get a grip of the public finances. But by getting that grip, by bringing stability back to our economy, because we've been plagued by chaos and instability these last few years, along with the reforms we're making, reforming the planning system to get Britain building, creating a national wealth fund to support homegrown industries and jobs here in Britain, reforming the pension system to unlock money for start-up and scale-up businesses and get better returns for pension savers. If we can do these things, I know that the prize on offer is immense. More money in people's pockets, more good jobs paying decent wages, more money to invest in our frontline public services, particularly our National Health Service. So stability combined with the reform to get Britain building and get Britain growing is the prize that is on offer for governments that are willing to take the decisions to get our economy on a firmer footing. That's what I'll be setting out in my conference speech today and in the budget next month.
Rachel Reeves, thank you for joining us on BBC Breakfast.
Thank you.